What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, and now it's time to do the other side of the Senior Bowl. The other side of the ball. Who were some guys on defense that turned heads in a positive way over the 3 days plus the actual game? So, again, I'm focusing on certain positions that are of interest to me. There were some cornerbacks that did really well during the week at the Senior Bowl. There were some edge rushers who I thought did well, but that's not my primary focus right now. So I kept the focus mostly on the defensive line. And honestly, most of the guys who did something for me were defensive line guys. So that is where most of the prospects that I highlight in this video are going to be playing. But there are definitely other guys as well who turned heads positively. And future video, I might talk about some guys who I thought didn't look so good, guys who, generally speaking, disappointed. So keep an eye out for that. But this video is going to be the positive. This video is going to be who actually did something to boost their stock. So first guy I want to highlight here on the defensive side of the ball would be Darius Robinson, defensive lineman from Missouri. According to the data that I've seen, he's like 290. So he is probably going to be an interior offensive lineman in the NFL. But at the Senior Bowl, he actually looked good on the inside and on the outside. When he was put at edge, he was able to win with speed. When he was put inside, he was able to win with power. Now, I don't know if that speed thing is going to work well in the NFL because he's 290, unless he's really like 260 and the 290 is just like the 9 got flipped upside down or something. But Darius Robinson is a player who briefly danced with the top 100 during the season, and then he dipped really low, like 5th round, after the season was over. And over the last couple weeks, if you look at his trend line here on Mock Draft Database, you'll see that he's been on a ascension all the way to the point where he's now considered a second-round pick. And after that Senior Bowl, he's probably going to keep rising. So Darius Robinson would be one of the guys who impressed me at the Combine. He impressed, I keep saying Combine, it's the Senior Bowl. Yeah, he impressed at the Senior Bowl, and he is doing good things for his draft stock. He may end up being like a mid-second, even an early second-round pick if things continue to go his way here. And this was a guy who was not really on my radar during the season, very low-key, and briefly flashed as a top 100 guy. Now he seems like he's basically guaranteed to be a top 100 guy. So the fact that he showed that versatility to be an inside rusher as well is really, really encouraging for me, trying to make him in a 3-4 defense. Next guy I want to look at here would be McKinley Jackson. This is another defensive lineman, another guy who is maybe, I believe, going to be a pretty good fit in a 3-4 defense. He's got a lot of power in his hands. He really knows how to just blow back these guards that he goes up against. So I think he'll be a good fit for playing on the interior. And some of the guys he was going up against at the Senior Bowl, they were the prolific guards. Guys like Christian Haynes of, I think he's UConn. And guys like, I don't think he had a rep against JPJ, but he did have some reps against like Christian Jones as well. So he did some notable things in that Senior Bowl, and this is a guy who I've highlighted a few times during the course of the college season. So McKinley Jackson, I believe that he might end up as a 3-4 end in the NFL, and he might be good at it, and I would not terribly hate it if he ended up doing it here. Now, you can see that as of right now, his draft stock on the Mock Draft Database is about 3rd round. So he can't really get that much higher, or else he won't be in range of our 3rd round picks. But there's always flexibility there. You can trade up a little bit, trade down a little bit. I'm not terribly worried about that, but I am aware of the fact that if he does have a good Senior Bowl and stack it with a good Combine, you could be talking about a 2nd round guy, and I just don't know if that's going to be something we can make work. Third guy would be Braden Fiske of the Florida State Seminoles, another Senior Bowl guy who stood out really well. He's got kind of a weird build. He's got like short arms, which obviously that's going to keep him from being a blue chipper. But you can see he was considered to be about a 3rd round type player, maybe 4th round, but mostly during the season 3rd rounds. He was hanging around the 3rd round, and that's where he is right now. And I think the Senior Bowl may have pushed him up a little bit. I don't think he can get that high because he is physically limited to a certain extent. He is just a little bit oddly built, but he's very disruptive, and he looked really good at the Senior Bowl. I think he showed the ability to really shoot gaps and also win with bull rushes. So Braden Fiske, I'm thinking that he might end up shooting up to where it might make sense to take him with one of our third round picks. Right now he's at 88. He shoots up a little bit into the 70s. Boom, he's right there for you potentially. So Braden Fiske is definitely getting my attention in a positive way so far. By the way, if you're wondering why I keep looking over here, this is where I wrote my notes, and I'm looking at my notes for these players as I'm reading them. Just so you guys know, I do that for a lot of videos actually, and some people ask about it. Well, now you know. But Braden Fiske, defensive lineman, definitely going to be a name. And another name that impressed me on the defensive line, our last defensive line guy here, will be Justin Igbogbe. So this is an Alabama guy. I highlighted him a few times during the season. I actually liked him quite a bit. He had a good Senior Bowl by my estimation. He can win with power and he can win with speed. Now, speed, I don't know if that's going to work in the NFL. He is like 290, 300 pounds apparently. If he weighs in around there at the combine, assuming he does weigh in, that's going to be hard to win with speed. But the fact that he showed the ability to win with power at the Senior Bowl on top of what he did at Alabama is very encouraging. And I think that Igbogbe is a guy who definitely earned the right to be drafted during the course of the season. You can see that he was kind of flirting with the UDFA realm of the draft for a lot of the season. And then at the very end, he kind of jumped up into the 200s. Now he's up in the 130s, 140s. So you can kind of see that, excuse me, you can kind of see that he's getting positive attention. And I think that Senior Bowl might have pushed him up a little bit more. He's another guy who is kind of short-armed, so he doesn't have the ideal physical build for a defensive lineman. So he's never going to be like a blue chipper or a superstar. But I think that he has bloomed really nicely on that Bama defense, and I think he might find himself in the fourth round. Those Alabama guys tend to get a little bit of an artificial boost anyway. Seems to me that he might get a actual earned boost from the way he played at the Senior Bowl. So Igbogbe would be my fourth and final defensive line guy who caught my attention positively at the combine. Senior Bowl. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the final guy that I want to spend a little bit of time on would be Payton Wilson. This is the one linebacker who I liked. And that's not a great sign. We need linebackers. I don't think the linebackers at the Senior Bowl did all that well. So we are going to need the combine to come in clutch for us. But Payton Wilson's a guy who had a really, really nice season. There was a point in time where he looked like he was going to be lucky to get drafted. And he bumped himself all the way up into the second round at one point on the database. And as of right now, he has dipped down a little bit, but I expect him to come right back up. And he'll at least be a third rounder. He won some national awards. He did some incredible stuff at North Carolina. And I would be very surprised if he didn't go at some point in the third round minimum. And I kind of expect second round at this point because he looked good. He's got the right kind of size you want for a linebacker. He's not one of these 215, 220 guys. He looks like he is 235, and we'll get more official measurements at the combine. But despite him being big, relatively speaking, he can also play great in space. He can cover, and he can cover a lot of ground. So Payton Wilson, to me, is one of the most intriguing linebackers in this draft. After the top two, which to me is Colson and Cooper, Wilson might be right there. Now, there are some weird things with Payton Wilson. His arms are extremely short. A lot of that going around this year. He is oddly built for a linebacker. And I actually saw one thing on Rob Stanton's blog suggesting that he might end up being an edge rusher because of the way he's built. He looks more like an edge rusher. Now, I don't know if that's going to work because his arms are so short. Although, again, we need to wait for the combine for things to be official. But it does make me wonder if he might end up occupying a more hybrid role in the NFL, where instead of just being a pure off-ball linebacker, he does end up almost doing like Micah Parsons type stuff. Obviously not that good, but maybe he'll end up in a Micah Parsons type role. And maybe at the same time, I mean, we just saw it with the guy the Vikings drafted last year, who had the really short arms. The Cincinnati one, Ivan Pace, he's been great. So it's not impossible, but there are some hurdles here. But I thought he looked really good. He was the only linebacker that got my attention positively at the Senior Bowl. And it looks to me like he will be, if he can get past the limitations of his arm length, a good all around, every down linebacker, can play the pass, can play the run. And that's it for the defensive side of the ball for me. Let me know what you guys think about these guys. Let me know if anybody else stood out to you. Again, there were some players at other positions that were definitely good, but they didn't really stand out to me because I wasn't looking for them as much. All right, more videos coming later, but that'll do it for now. I will see you guys later, and go Hawks.